You are watching the Doctalk show.
Eczema is one of the most common skin problems that disturbs children in the current times. As we learned in the previous segment, children of these days appear to be suffering a lot more from eczema than children who lived in the past. We want to find out why this is happening and how we can identify a child who has eczema. So, Dr. Malik, in your explanation, you explained the children nowadays get more eczema. And it's due to the environment we create. I don't know if it is accidental or is it intentional, but something to do with the environment is provoking these reactions.
Yes.
So how can you identify that this skin thing is an eczema and is not like a fungal infection or something else?
Okay. Well, the first thing about eczema, one, the skin is very itchy, so the child is always scratching. That's the first thing.
Okay.
Yes. Two, they get patches. The skin gets what you call patches, especially in what you call the flexures. So they get patches
What
in
do you
the
mean
arms.
the flexures?
The flexures are the body parts that fold. Yes. So basically in the
So like the elbow here?
the elbow
is
area,
fold,
yes. All areas where the skin folds,
where the skin folds.
they basically get a lot of itching there, and
like
they get
the armpits,
patches.
so
In the
here at the knee.
armpits, yes. In the armpits, the elbow area, the wrists, behind the knees. So they get that, and then they get it on the abdomen. The other key thing, of course, it is long term. So you see the child from 6 months, the skin is itchy, they're getting these patches, the skin is very dry and scaly. You know, however much you try to moisturize, you're seeing that your child, the skin still dries out very quickly.
Even if you put Vaseline,
If you put Vaseline, you're seeing their skin
emollients, but it doesn't work.
It doesn't really work well for them. And the other issue with them is, of course, most times the parent will tell you, we've moved everywhere, things are not working. So we explain to them that this is a chronic disease. So it's long term.
Chronic to mean long term.
Long term, yes, it's long term. So our goal is not to cure it, but to treat it, because those two are different.
So it means eczema has no cure.
It has no cure because it's genetic. Now I say it's genetic, so it's about giving your body time to outgrow it and become stronger. And so what we do is we treat it so that the child is free of the eczema. We explain to them most times the child will get what we call a flare. So we call them flares, episodes where the eczema just comes. If a child falls sick, for example, they get some infection, they get flu, they get the flare. If you expose them to the ingredients that we discussed, they get the flare.
Okay.
If a child goes swimming, we've seen that a lot, because now these days most of our kids take them to swimming pools. The chlorine in swimming pools also causes a very bad drying out effect. So most parents don't even notice, but if you really ask them, they'll say, oh, actually I remember when I took my child to swim over the weekend, that whole week the skin was really bad.
The skin was dried out.
It dried out,
it
provoked the reaction, so they reacted a lot. So, so basically you tell from the history. Of course we also ask, it's atopic eczema. Atopy means allergies. So most children have asthma.
Okay.
We ask in the family if the parents also had a history of having asthma, if there are any siblings who have asthma, who have itchy eyes, runny nose in the morning. So all that is part of the allergies. The morning coughs which keep coming
when it's cold.
When it's cold. So all that is part of the eczema picture. So the eczema is the allergies on the skin. So we ask all that to find out, to really get the diagnosis right.
Okay, so in a sense, eczema is an allergy.
It's an allergy, atopic eczema. Atopy means allergy. Yes.
So it is also similar to an asthmatic attack or sinuses, what people commonly call sinuses. There's something which provokes the reaction. In the environment, whether it is the perfumes, whether it is chemicals in the soap, in the chlorine, all these can provoke a reaction. And dust. And
dust, yes.
So how will one escape dust?
Exactly, that's always the challenge. When you do the allergy testing, we find that most of them react to dust mite in particular. They're very, very small, almost invisible to the naked eye, the dust mites, but they're everywhere.
It's like an insect?
It's like an insect, it's called a dust mite. So they always go to the skin and cause the reaction.
Okay.
Yes, so you know, that's always something hard to avoid here in Uganda. Yeah.
It will take lots of public health interventions. But then now moving forward, if it is these allergic reactions, can they be dangerous? Are there any worries people should have if they know they have eczema?
Yes.
What complications could arise?
Well, eczema, actually the major issue with eczema, of course, the child is perturbed, the child is uncomfortable. The one thing I always ask the parent when the child comes is your child sleeping well? That's a very key indicator of how comfortable your child is, especially at night. So we find out if the child is reacting a lot at night and they're not sleeping well, it means it's going to affect their growth. It's going to affect them during the whole day if they didn't rest well enough. The child would have a poor appetite, so they will be losing weight. So they will have a delay in their normal growth stages. Okay. So their normal development will be affected by the eczema and the constant itching. That would be the major complication I would see. The other one, of course, is those who have really severe eczema. So they get really bad scarring, which lasts for a lifetime. They get scarring on the legs. Yes, they get scars. Yes, there are those who keep getting infections because the more they scratch, they bleed and then they get infected. So the infections go into the body, then it becomes a systemic problem. The child gets a fever, they get other symptoms because of the infections from the eczema.
Wow, so it is quite a complex thing. So how does one deal with this problem? What should they do if they have if they have the eczema and it has now become complicated? Yeah. They have got infected, or they keep getting frequent attacks of the eczema. Yes, what can they do?
Well, the first thing, like we said, we treat the condition, but we have to, we train the parents, we teach them about the condition to understand it, and we do a follow-up on them over a period of months to help them to understand the condition, how it's caused, and what they can do about it from home. So we always tell them that eczema is a family disease. So the whole family gets involved in helping the child get better.
Okay. Does it mean, when you say family, does it mean the other siblings are going to catch it from this child? Or is it?
When we say family, we mean that the parents, for example, won't go on spraying on themselves. Two, the most important thing with eczema is moisturizing. So everyone in the family gets to know that the child needs to be moisturized intensely and frequently. You can never apply too much moisturizer when it comes to eczema. So the skin has to be always soft and moisturized. They should never let it dry out. So we always teach them how to use the moisturizers correctly.
Are these the usual moisturizers we see the ladies use?
No. The key word with moisturizers, they must be fragrance-free. Absolutely fragrance-free.
Okay,
yes.
So the key word, no perfume, no fragrance.
No perfume, no fragrance.
It's like a plain.
It's a plain Vaseline, plain moisturizer. That's what we always recommend. All right. Everyone has their favorites. Some people may say use shea butter, others say use olive oil, others say use coconut oil. But the key thing is we don't want any artificial fragrances in there.
So all those are shea butters and those are fragrances.
Yeah, as long as they are fragrances.
As long as it has a smell,
it has the perfume, the fragrance. Then it's a problem.
That is a problem.
And in plenty. Even if you
are
applying it every 2 hours,
every 2 hours.
Even if it's every 2 hours, it's okay. We always tell them a big tub of like a moisturizer should be done in about 3 weeks or 4 weeks. So you can never apply too much moisturizer when it comes to eczema. So what we do, we tell them first we're just going to give you the medicine to first manage the flare, to treat it well, but it's you who is going to manage this condition from home to make sure it doesn't keep coming back.
Any advice on going into the sun? You know the sun dries skin.
Yeah,
can that also provoke an eczema attack?
The sun doesn't so much cause eczema attack, but of course, like we said, the many skin conditions, there are those who may have sun-induced allergic reaction, which is different. But of course, recommend the child to go out and interact with the environment to grow well. We tell them that some people react to things, the dust. So we're mixing the dust to the sun, but the sun, to answer the question, the sun doesn't affect, it doesn't provoke the eczema.
Okay, so eczema shouldn't be an excuse for not allowing the child to go out
and play. Yeah, shouldn't.
Okay, as I always say, all work but no play will make the child dull. So
Yes.
we still need those children to go out and exercise their muscles, interact with other children, and they learn the social skills. It shouldn't be a sentence that the child has to remain at home because
and it doesn't spread to other children. They shouldn't
spread to
fear
other
that
children.
it spreads to other children.
Okay, I think that's also another concern. What if the other children get it?
Yes. So most parents feel, oh, the neighbors, oh, your child may give these things to our kids. It's not like that.
Okay.
So they shouldn't be afraid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, at least that's good to know. So any tips on the do's and don'ts when it comes to eczema?
When it comes to the do's, do moisturize in plenty. When you finish bathing your child or when you finish bathing, pat the skin dry. Don't rub with a towel. 2, don't overbathe.
Rubbing, what does it do?
You know how when you finish bathing, when you're rubbing, there's a very
There's also
sensitive
the
layer.
bathing part, because now there is hard sponges that people
they have to
scrub
be
their skin
extremely
until it
gentle.
is clean.
Yes. Now that's the other thing about bathing, because always they ask us, if you overbathe the child with eczema, you're only making it worse. Some children who have severe eczema, we advise to bathe the child either once a day. There are those who actually recommend to be bathed 3 times a week, if the eczema is really severe. Why?
Really? Okay.
Because
Why?
the skin is trying to make a protective layer on its own, a lipid layer. So all the time when you're overbathing the child, you're taking off the layer which would have protected the child. Because we have natural oils that the skin secretes to protect it. So every time you're trying to scrub the child, thinking, oh, the child has the eczema, let me wash it off, you're actually making it worse.
We're making the skin dry.
And when you bathe them, we tell them if you don't have the right things to use, just bathe with plain water. Plain water, pat the skin dry. By patting, we mean just pat with a towel. You don't rub the towel. And then immediately, don't let the skin dry out, apply the moisturizer.
So when the skin is still a bit wet, they start applying
the moisturizer. Yes.
all over the body.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So more about eczema coming up shortly after the break. You've had some of the important tips. Do not overbathe your child. If in case they have an acute flares, overbathing, particularly if it isn't very strong deodorants or soaps, may it worsen the flares. So you have to be very careful and follow your dermatologist's advice regarding management of flare. Don't go away. We'll be right back after the break.
You are watching the Doctalk Show.